welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as a few others, but hey, it's something. So, there's not any housekeeping or anything like. Might be doing my... Well, I mean, the only thing that's slightly housekeeping is I'm about to hit like 400 subs, so I might do a Q&A or some crap like that. But other than that, nothing much to really get into. So, with that out of the way, let's get right into the news. The first news story is something that is completely unimportant to everybody except for me. Okay, so this kind of ties into the main subject of this video, but I'm just going to say this right now because, this is a big thing for me. Okay, so as we all know, there is a Senate race going on in Massachusetts, and it's currently the primary season, and the Democratic primary, it's pretty contested between Joe Kennedy III, who's a challenger, and incumbent Senator Ed Markey. Okay, so Markey, his campaign is pretty much, like, when he was first running, people thought he was a loser, he was going to lose 100%, but then the, new left, the Bernie Sanders type supporters are like young people and like democratic socialist types. They pretty much came to Markey's aid and revived his campaign. Here's what happened though. In some of their newer kind of things, they're not necessarily nice to Kennedy because they don't care about this whole like bullcrap of like, oh, we gotta be prim, proper, and we gotta have respectful discourse. No, they don't care. And they see Kennedy for what he is. A shill running on his granddaddy's name, and they make jokes about him because he's an empty shell with nothing. Like, he has nothing to offer. So here's what happened. The Joe Kennedy team has been consistently trying to use the Bernie bro type smear against Ed Markey. Like, oh, your followers are so mean. Like, at one of the debates, he literally said, one of Ed Markey's supporters said bullying works. And then, like, he's literally just a privileged kid sitting in his room like, oh, why are they being mean to me? Like, but here's the interesting part. They sent a letter to the Ed Markey team, while also copying it and sending it to the media as well. Just to show some accountability. They send this letter to the media, basically telling Markey, like, your supporters online are very mean. We need you to stop it at once. And then they include, one of the things that they do, they include screenshots of some of the tweets that, got people mad. One of the tweets was a picture of a dinosaur that said, fuck Joe Kennedy. There's one tweet where people were adding Lee Harvey Oswald saying, we could really use you right about now. People saying, we'll be heading to Delany Plaza right now. People saying, Ed Markey murdered the entire Kennedy dynasty. One person with a Twitter banner that said, F Joe Kennedy. One person saying, the last line of his Green New Deal maker ad was so good, a perfect fuck you to the Kennedy dynasty. He truly has the blood of Oswald and Sirhan in his veins. He will win this. Sirhan, if you don't know, is the person who killed Bobby Kennedy. But there was one tweet in particular that was very interesting. A tweet that says, quote, might as well call Ed Markey Lee Harvey Oswald, cause he just killed a Kennedy. Hashtag Markey beats Kennedy. Hashtag Markey 2020. Hashtag Snarky with Markey. Now, I know what you're thinking. This tweet must have come from a brilliant man, a brilliant person who is the greatest online political commentator in the history of the world. Well, first of all, you're completely incorrect. That tweet came from me. Yeah, apparently, my tweet hurt Kennedy so bad that it made it in a letter decrying Markey supporters. I guess I'm just that good. And it even gets better. Apparently, Mike Figueredo of the Humanist Report included my tweet there as well and read it on his video. So now, I'm gonna get some free subscribers out of this, probably. There's literally nothing else important to this. Let's move on to an equally unimportant story. Pelosi says there shouldn't be any debates between Biden and Trump. Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Thursday she does not think there should be any presidential debates ahead of the November general election, arguing Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden shouldn't legitimize a discussion with President Trump. I don't think there should be any debates, Pelosi told reporters. I do not think that the President of the United States has comported himself in a way that anybody has any association with truth, evidence, data, and facts. I wouldn't legitimize a conversation with him, nor a debate in terms of the presidency of the United States, she added. I think he'll probably act in a way that is beneath the dignity of the presidency, she said, citing what she called his disgraceful actions during the 2016 debates with former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. He does that every day, she added, but I think he will also belittle what the debates are and supposed to be about. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to use an audio clip from a Hot and Diggity Demon video to explain to Pelosi why debating Donald Trump wouldn't necessarily be adding or subtracting any legitimization to Donald Trump.
He's the fucking president, for crying out loud!
I'm going to say he's pretty legitimate by now. And they might say, well, but he got there because of bad reasons and blah, blah, blah. Here's the inevitable truth. Even if there's rigging, he's still technically the president. Like, even if tomorrow Russiagate was proven to be 100% right and Vladimir Putin literally, switched votes at the last second to vote for Donald Trump. If that was 100% true, I mean, he would still be president for 3 years. He would still be president. In Mexico, they literally stole 3 elections. I mean, they're still considered presidents. Carlos Gortari, he literally was rigged into the presidency. Or he rigged the election in favor of Zedillo. I forget which one was which. But he's still a president. He's still considered a president of Mexico. That doesn't change 100%. Okay, so the next story is coming from Montana. Supreme Court denies push to add Green Party candidates to Montana ballot. The Supreme Court declined to take up any emergency petition from Montana Secretary of State Corey Stapleton to allow candidates for Green Party to appear on the state's ballots this fall. Justice Elena Kagan issued the order Tuesday in a decision that should impact Montana's highly competitive Senate race and other tight-down ballot races. This move comes amid concerns that Green Party candidates in the state would draw votes away from Democrats. Stapleton has filed an emergency request Monday, asking for the court to stay an order from Montana Supreme Court, removing over 560 people's names from ballot petitions. Democrats have convinced people to disavow their support for the third-party candidates after it was revealed that the Republican Party funded the signature-gathering effort to get contenders' names on the ballot under the Green Party, and the Green Party itself did not support the effort. Here's the thing. You see, this thing has actually been contentious for, a lot of Green Party activists, because the Green Party activists, they've been bitching and moaning and, crying, saying, oh, we need to get the Greens back on the ballot. They're trying to push us off the ballot. But here's the thing. The Montana Greens did not want to be on the ballot. None of the candidates that are in this election under the Green Party banner in Montana were sanctioned by the Green Party. In fact, one of them, the candidate for the House seat, Joe Gibney, was literally disavowed by the Montana Green Party when he ran for something previously because of his anti-immigration views. none of the people on the ballot are here because they legitimately want to run against Steve Bullock and give the Green Party a good name. Literally all the candidates on the ballot for Montana under the Green Party banner are there because they're Republican plants. They literally had a Senate primary where there was a Democratic plant versus a Republican plant, with the Democratic plant saying that they were going to drop out and endorse Bullock, but then they were also going to, the Republican plant was going to stay in the race. And, I mean, there's nothing much you can do in this particular scenario. I mean, I usually agree that every candidate should be on the ballot, but in this particular circumstance, it's definitely very suspect and very no me gusta. Okay, the next story is coming out of Kansas. There's been controversy surrounding a Kansas candidate for a down-the-ballot race. Aaron Coleman. Aaron Coleman is like one of the typical Democratic social democrat type folks that ran an insurgency campaign for state representative. He was a 19-year-old, dapper young lad who's I want to change U.S. politics for the better. And he was able to actually beat an incumbent Democrat by a very narrow margin because, lower turnout and such due to COVID. But then there was a bit of controversy surrounding him because it was discovered that he had, blackmailed a girl. He basically did revenge porn on a girl that he used to date when they were 12. Now he's not that much older. He's 19. And now you might say, well, I mean, is it that bad, TBH? Well, I mean, technically, no. I mean, I can guarantee you, when you were all in high school, you did something bad that you regret. I can safely say, yeah, I didn't do that. But there's been things I did in middle school and high school that I definitely would be no, never. I'm not gonna do that again. Difference is, of course, being he's trying to be a public servant. I'm not. And there's some folks who apparently do know him that say that he hasn't necessarily changed that much from that time period. If you did that and then you honestly grew up and you changed your mind, like I have, because I'm putting myself on a pedestal, you can say, okay, well, that's fine. But this controversy got so bad that Aaron Coleman literally said that he was just going to stop running for the seat, which would give the Democrats ample opportunity to replace him on the ballot. But then he jumped back in the race because he's like, hey, I don't want the state Democratic Party to be in charge of who gets to replace me on the ballot. And now there's another story where Aaron Coleman apparently slapped and choked his ex-girlfriend in the past year. Okay, so, a thing that he apologizes for and regrets from many years ago, that's fine. But, thing that he did in the past year and is way worse, not necessarily bueno, not good. And apparently I think the incumbent is going to initiate a writing campaign against him. That'd be interesting to see what happens next. I'm not involved in this race, nor am I going to pay much attention to it, but I felt that it was worth mentioning that Aaron Coleman may not exactly be the bueno person you think he is. Speaking of another interesting kind of race like this, apparently Brad Ashford is going to launch a write-in bid for U.S. Senate in Nebraska. It was announced on Monday afternoon that former U.S. Representative Brad Ashford would be launching a write-in bid for U.S. Senate if Democratic candidate Chris Jackanick does not step down. Ashford's running in a response to Democratic Janicek insisting and continuing his campaign despite sexual harassment allegations. The party would prefer him step aside so Alicia Shelton can replace him, but Janicek refuses to do so. Shelton cannot launch a write-in bid due to her losing the primary. So yeah, there's this whole debacle over one of the candidates, the current Democratic nominee, is Chris Janicek. He ran against a couple of other people who were running in the, race. But then there was an interesting development when it was discovered he apparently made some lewd comments to some of his staffers that were like, yo, we gotta get this girl laid, and stuff like that. And then they were like, Chris, can you step aside so we can, nominate someone else? Alicia Shelton, maybe? And then he said, nope, I'm staying in the race. And now a lot of people are trying to get this, they're pleading with Chris to let him step aside so they can replace him, but he's saying no. So now Brad Ashford, who you may remember is he ran briefly, he was a brief congressman, then he lost to a Republican, Don Bacon, and I think he lost to Don Bacon, and then he ran against Don Bacon, and then lost to Kara Eastman, and then Kara Eastman ran against his daughter in 2020 and beat her, and now the Bradfords, I forget their last name already. The Ashfords apparently aren't going to endorse Kara Eastman in the bid. I don't know why. I think Brad Ashford is actually endorsing Bacon this time around, if I remember correctly. But that's not important. What's important is he's running write-in bid against Chris Janicek. Okay, that's... nobody cares. But I said it anyways because I thought it was interesting. So anyways, now on to the smaller candidate of the day. This smaller candidate of the day is Ricky King of the Genealogy Know Your Family History Party. It seems the only thing that she's running on is to be the first black female from Iowa to run for president. Her slogan is, I do not want your vote, I want your signature. And the one page that I can look into about her, stuff is, she's talking about, George Edwin Taylor, which is interesting because I have a video about George Edwin Taylor. He's an interesting fellow. But, I mean, if that's her intention, just to run to, raise African-American issues, that's fine. Okay, so, now on the main topic of this video, endorsements. Because I'm pretty sure my endorsements for this election cycle are more than likely going to be closed for the remainder of the year. To be fair, I don't think there's really any worth adding any more candidates, to be honest. I think I've pretty much covered all of the winnable races for progressives this time around. And I've also covered some, grounds with, third-party groups, I think. So I endorsed some of the ones that I liked and such. I think I got all the incumbents down. At most, I'm going to add one more incumbent named Gwen Moore, because she seems lit too, TBH. But other than that, I think after that it'll be pretty much wrapped up for everything. So, for this video, I'm just going to be going over literally all of my endorsements that are still running and might need your help. There's some primaries that are going to be heading up in, a couple days. This video is going to get released on the 31st, and after that will be the first of the last of the primaries, and after that there'll be one more primary, and then it'll be it. It'll just be general election from here on out. So I guess the first endorsement I should get out of the way 100% is, I'm endorsing Howie Hawkins for the 2020 presidential election. There's not much I can say about that. You already know I'm third party cool, independent cool and such. Okay, so the first wave is Senate. These are the Senate candidates that I am currently endorsing that are either in general or still in the primary. You'll see it when it goes out. First, there are two incumbents that I like, that I actually support and I think are worth supporting. First is Jeff Merkley from Oregon. He's been like second or third best senator, TBH. I mean, he hasn't been doing anything particularly bad. Like, his vote record is good, and he's, overall just an interesting senator, and I think he's cool. One thing that I'll always remember is that he was the only senator in 2016 to endorse Bernie, and that was, like, pretty cool. But he didn't endorse Bernie in 2020, so it's like, I don't know what changed. Maybe it was because everybody was, like, thinking Merkley himself could be a presidential candidate, so that maybe he was like, oh, people actually care about me? Oops. But Merkley's good, but he's in a safe blue seat, so he doesn't really need your support for the moment. If you want to, like, retweet his stuff, follow him, I don't know. The next and only other incumbent that I like that is running for re-election this year is Ed Markey, who is running in the Massachusetts Senate race. His primary has not been completed yet. He needs your help because this is a tight race. It's tight, but he is in the lead right now, so, give him a few dollars, give him a support, or something like that. Okay. The next candidate is Richard Deanne Winfield of Georgia's special election. It's going to be a jungle primary because of Georgia runs this way for special elections for some reason. During the 2018 midterms, he was one of the first candidates to run on a federal jobs guarantee. And he's even kind of went a step further than most people because his jobs pay $20 an hour, not $15. He's definitely worth your support. The next one is in Maine. Lisa Savage of the Maine Green Independent Party. I mean, I'm just going to say, unless I specify otherwise, the candidates are going to be Democrats. Now, if you're one of those spoiler myth people, you're in luck. Lisa Savage has ranked choice voting, so she can actually do this. Let's go. The next one is in West Virginia. We have Paula G. Swearingen. I honestly thought she was going to lose against Richard Ojeda, but I guess actually campaigning for the seat actually does do something. And when a certain someone who was crying because Richard Ojeda was failing, I was laughing because, Paula G. Swearingen is way better than Richard Ojeda. Fight me, bro, every day. The next candidate is Antoine Pierce from Louisiana. Antoine Pierce is a very interesting guy because, Louisiana, you don't necessarily think progressive when you think of Louisiana. And he's going to be running in a jungle primary because that's how Louisiana works. And his main Democratic opponent is a Bloomberg endorser, so this guy definitely would want to support him. This next candidate is a question mark because we don't necessarily know what's going on at the moment. You see, Dan Whitfield in Arkansas, who's an independent, he is currently not on the ballot, but may be on the ballot in the future. I mean, I don't know. We don't really know because, the judge is currently not talking about this, so maybe Dan Whitfield might be removed, but for the most part, it'll be pretty down. The next candidate is in Delaware Senate race, Jessica Scarane. She's running against Chris Coons, who's a pretty openly conservative kind of Democrat folk guy. Okay, so she should deserve your support. She's going to be like the last primary of the election cycle, September 15th. Gave her a few bucks, help her out. Be cool if we flip this one. Okay, so the next one is the Illinois Senate race. I'm endorsing David Black of the Green Party. This is an interesting fact. He is the 4th candidate that I have endorsed in this race. 2 Democrats and 2 independents. But this one is 100% sticking. Why did I endorse him? I don't know. I guess I just really got attracted to this seat in particular. The next candidate is in the 2020 New Jersey Senate seat, Madeline Hoffman. She was the, she's a Green who ran for the other Senate seat, and now she's running against Cory Booker. Lit. The next candidate is the 2020 Tennessee Senate race with Marquita Bradshaw. She was able to beat a DSCC endorsed candidate with a progressive candidacy. Definitely worth your support. And in the 2020 Michigan Senate race, I'm endorsing Marsha Squire. Why? Because I endorsed her last time, and I thought it would be interesting to endorse this one. Okay, this next one is going to be interesting because this is a guy nobody's talking about because nobody cares, but I do. I always do this. I always find this one person is nobody cares about him, nobody knows anything about him, yet I endorse him anyways because I don't know why. In 2018, I endorsed the Mountain Party candidate in West Virginia District 2, Daniel Lutz. Why? I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. I liked his platform, thought it was interesting. But for this one, it's the 2020 New Hampshire Senate seat, Paul Krautman. He's running as a Democrat against the incumbent Democrat who's been in some form of elected office for 28 years. And he's running this huge progressive campaign, and he's a dentist. Pretty cool. Okay, so the next couple of candidates are the incumbents that I think are doing good. I like all these guys in varying degrees, but, I don't really need to sing their praises, so I'm just going to rattle off them. Ro Khanna, Rel Grijalba, Pramila Jayapal, Peter Welch, Barbara Lee, Mark Buchanan, Jamie Raskin, Jared Huffman, Earl Blumenauer, John Yarmouth, James McGovern, Jan Schakowsky, Mark Takano, Mark DeSalenur, Peter DeFazio, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Chewy Garcia, Ayanna Pressley, Jonah Goose, and Andy Levin. These guys are good. Don't change a thing. None of these guys should be primaried. The end. Okay, so now here comes the House challengers that may need some help. In New York District 27, we have Nate McMurray. He ran for this seat twice already, and, I think he's worth supporting. There's a Green running in the race, but I think Nate's worth supporting. He's progressive. Nebraska District 2, one of my earliest endorsements, Kara Eastman. As soon as I found out she was running again, I endorsed her. And she's interesting because she's one of the few people who's running a second time around who hasn't backed away from her, progressive bona fides. Mark Kapanajar and Diane Mitch Bush, they ran away from their progressive bona fides. She is running with them 100%. Another person who is running on their progressive bona fides is Cori Bush. I didn't endorse her last time, but I endorsed her this time, and she won this time. Coincidence? I think not. In Texas District 10, we have Mike Segal. He was another one of these kind of people who ran in 2018 and is running again in 2020, and much like her, progressive bona fides haven't been stumped for this much. Next is California District 1, Audrey Denny, who also coincidentally is also doing that. I've just found out that there are a lot more people who have run in this race previously in 2018 than I realized. Interesting. This year is kind of like just trying to finish what the blue wave of 2018 started, I guess. Audrey Denny is a pretty good progressive as well. She was a Justice Democrat during that run. I don't know why they're not endorsing her this time around, but I don't know. Maybe they're trying to be more picky this time around and trying to see if they can actually win something. In Illinois District 3, we have Marie Newman, who beat her Democratic incumbent and is fighting an uphill battle. Well, I mean, not really. The person who I was thinking of more in the uphill battle motif was in California District 12 with Shahid Buttar, who also ran for the seat in 2018. But he actually made it not only good enough that far, but is made good enough this much. Okay, now in North Carolina District 5, we have David Wilson Brown. He's the only person who in North Carolina that's running that I can 100% say I like. Everyone else, I always have to be like, I don't know. Okay, so the next candidate is Colorado District 5, Jillian Freeland. She's a very interesting progressive activist, and she actually personally DM'd me for some reason. I don't know. Okay, so the next candidate is State Representative John Hoadley in Michigan District 6. His campaign is very notable because his seat is apparently now been labeled as a highly flippable seat. Carrie Eastman also had that issue, and so did Mike Segal. They're now flippable seats. Just saying. This could be interesting. And he's running on a very progressive platform, endorsed by people like Rashida Tlaib and such. In Washington District 10, we have Beth Doglio. She wasn't the first person I endorsed. That was Josh Collins. But, she's a Bernie-endorsed candidate and is very interesting and has my full support. In Georgia District 14, we have Kevin Van Osdale. He's very interesting because, for starters, he actually doesn't even identify as a progressive. He identifies as a moderate. Ew, I know, gross, but trust me, there are many reasons why it's fine. For one, he actually supports very progressive legislation. I don't care about the labels, I care about the issues. And, he's running on single payer, $20 minimum wage. That's pretty good. But also because he's running against Marjorie Taylor Greene, the QAnoner. This seat is definitely low priority. A seat not as not low priority is Massachusetts District 1 with Alex Morse. Because here's the thing, why would they smear him if he didn't have a chance? There must be some internal polling that shows something ain't right. Okay, so the next race is Massachusetts District 4. Isane Leckie. She is running for Joe Kennedy's seat and is the most progressive candidate in the race. I mean, the other ones, there's some that apparently seem to be alright, but I mean, she's just the most progressive of the options given. In Texas District 31, we have Donna Imam. She apparently, I remember I endorsed her because she was in my feed a lot because Eclectic Radical kept retweeting her and stuff, and then I called her campaign a Jessica Cisneros-like campaign. Except she didn't copy the part where she loses. Apparently this is also a potentially flippable seat. So, be on the lookout for possibly that. In California District 42, we have Liam O'Mara. He's a very progressive individual. And, he's not in a winnable seat, but, he's worth supporting. In New Mexico District 3, we have Teresa Liga Fernandez. She is, going to win the seat 100%, so you don't really need to focus on her. But I'll just say this from the get-go. She's probably going to be the Ayanna Pressley of the Future Squad, just saying. Okay, in West Virginia District 2, we have Kathy Cooknell. She's an energy policy expert and public advocate who's running on a very progressive platform for her seat. Interesting, and she deserves your support. I mean, I don't know if it's a potentially flippable seat, but, I mean, Jonathan was flippable in 2018. He didn't run for the seat, he endorsed a candidate in the seat, but pff. In Georgia District 8, we have Jimmy Cooper. I endorsed his race back in 2018, even though it was a write-in. I mean, I usually don't endorse write-ins. I try not to endorse write-ins, but, I mean, I endorsed a couple of write-ins by accident, but I don't try to endorse write-ins. At least I don't do it anymore. Maybe I instituted the rule after 2018, I don't know. But I don't think he's a write-in this time around, so he deserves your support. He's running as a green. Okay, in Colorado District 4, we have Ike McCorkle. He's a Marine Corps veteran running against Tea Party favorite Ken Buck. It's a very interesting race. Might not be winnable, but definitely worth the support. In California District 53, we have Georgette Gomez. I didn't endorse her originally. I endorsed Josie Caballero, but I think of the two remaining candidates, Georgette Gomez is the most progressive. Josie sees differently, but in my defense, I would rather take the Bernie Sanders AOC Ro Khanna endorsed candidate over the former Hillary Clinton supporter who has gotten the support of an OAN person and has gotten $1 million of her granddaddy's money to help her campaign, and supposedly ran a spoiler campaign against this Justice Democrat in the last election for California District 49 and called him a crusty old Marine. I mean, I would take Georgette over that. In California District 34, we have David Kim. He's been described as the best candidates of, I think he's the best parts of Marianne Williamson, Andrew Yang, and Bernie Sanders rolled into one, with some Kenneth Mejia added in. And I like Kenneth Mejia, so David Kim is probably my cup of tea. In Texas District 14, we have Adrienne Bell. She ran for this seat in 2018. It was endorsed by many progressive groups. And now I'm endorsing her this time around, so maybe my luck will seep through to her. In Texas District 25, Julie Oliver is running, and she's one of the very few people in the general election to have gotten Bernie Sanders' endorsement. That's definitely worth something, and I don't know if this seat's movable, but at one point it might be. In California District 18, we have Rishi Kumar. His city council member running against a 27-year incumbent, running on a kind of similar to Ro Khanna type thing. Like, I think that was one of his early things when he was retweeting. He'd be like retweeting Ro Khanna a lot. You know, I guess she's trying to do the association between the two. Okay, so in California District 29, we have Angelica Duenas. She ran as Green and PFP candidate in 2018, running against a new Democrat by the name of Tony Cardenas. She's definitely worth your support, 100%. In Virginia District 1, we have Qasim Rashid. He managed to get elected against the favorites of the race on a Bernie crap platform. The seat is not necessarily winnable, but, I mean, worth a shot, right? In New York District 16, we have our boy Jamal Bowman. Jamal Bowman be fire. He's going to be, I don't know who's, I think technically he would be the AOC of the squad. No, wait. Who's the AOC of the new squad? I'll figure that out later. In Michigan District 2, we have Jean-Michel Crevier, who is a Green running for the seat, and is interesting, because I think he was one of the few Greens to officially endorse, like, not Howie Hawkins. Like, most of the Green Party candidates on down-the-ballot races either didn't endorse, or they endorsed Howie Hawkins, though there were some who endorsed other candidates. He's being one of them, obviously. Okay, so in Iowa District 4, we have J.D. Schulten. He was that person everybody was making a big stink about in the last election. Now he's making a comeback. I don't know if he could win this time around, we'll have to wait and see if it was either Steve King that was holding J.D. Scholten back from being incumbent, or if running against Steve King was the only thing that made him so popular. Okay, so in California District 38, we have Michael Tolar. He is a retail store worker running against a progressive named Linda Sanchez. I made a pact that every single person who was a progressive who made it to the runoff in California would automatically get my support, which is why there are a lot of California people on here. Okay, so in West Virginia District 3, we have Hillary Turner. This was the Ojeda seat. This was the seat that was very important. You know, and she's a Rose Caucus person. Like, she's an openly socialist type person. Maybe she'll succeed where Ojeda failed. Okay, so now in District 17 of New York, we have Mondaire Jones. He's going to be one of the first openly gay black men to be elected to Congress. Let's be honest, the LGBTQ or SAGA people get pretty much whitewashed. So this is definitely worth noting. Okay, so last of the congressional races, we have New York District 24 with Dana Battler. She ran for the seat in 2018 and is making some very prominent, big progressive endorsements. This is another potentially fillable seat, so that's definitely worth something. Okay, so lastly is the gubernatorial races. I'm currently endorsing only 3 gubernatorial races, because, believe it or not, gubernatorial races in states that I do not have any say in are pretty boring. Okay, so the first one is the only incumbent governor I'm endorsing, Jay Inslee. Jay Inslee is a very notable person on climate change, and I truly think he was one of the best candidates in the 2020 Democratic race, just because he was purely the climate change candidate. He was the furthest corporate I would go, and I made a pact specifically because I was big on things. I made a promise saying if he drops out of the presidential race, I would endorse him for governor. And I did, because he did. It's a safe blue seat, so it doesn't matter. The next one is Andrew Volinsky in New Hampshire. He is a Bernie endorsed kind of person, and he's definitely worth your support. Very interesting, very notable, and we should 100% be backing him. But the last one is the most interesting. For the Vermont gubernatorial race, we have incumbent Lieutenant Governor David Zuckerman. Now here's the thing. David Zuckerman currently represents the Vermont Progressive Party in the lieutenant gubernatorialship, but he's currently running for the Democratic nomination, and he is currently running with the Vermont Progressive Party for his bid. On the ballot he will be listed as Progressive Democrat, whereas most of the people are listed as Democrat Progressive. But David, this just seems to be the hill he wants to die on, being listed as a progressive rather than a Democrat, which is good, and I truly think this is a big interesting. He's probably the closest that any other opposition person would be of this variety to get into the seat, and it'd be good to see him in the race, especially considering he's a third-party candidate. I'm down. Okay, so anyways, that is all the endorsements that I'm currently making for the 2020 elections so far. Now, who will win? We'll find out pretty soon. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when a future video when it comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can go to my website or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Quora, join my Discord, or check out my articles on the Independent Political Report.